This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. The Ford Motor Company built several versions of the Edsel from 1958 to 1960. Ford ended production of the car after just 3 model years because of weak sales. The Edsel has been described as a colossal failure. That is what the name has even come to mean in popular language. But the Edsel has also been described as a car ahead of its time. John Heitman is a history professor at the University of Dayton in Ohio and vice president of the Society for Automotive Historians. He says, "It was a car that was controversial in styling. Its horseshoe-shaped grille is still remembered today." The Edsel is kind of the example of the car that never caught on. Professor Heitman says the biggest problem was that the Edsel arrived around the same time as a recession. He says Americans were beginning to question their values. It's a really curious kind of economic episode. It was actually quite severe, but also rather short. But it was at a time when many Americans were reacting to the dinosaur in the driveway. These very heavy chrome-laden Buicks and other cars, the 58 Buick had 58 pounds of chrome on it. The Edsel was also a very heavy, very fuel-inefficient vehicle. Even so, some people say the Edsel's technology more than made up for what it lacked in looks and fuel efficiency. Shamrock Shelley Cleaver is the public relations director for the Edsel Owners Club in the United States. Mr. Cleaver has been a member of the club since it formed in 1969. He says the Edsel was the most modern car of its time. For example, he says it was the first Ford product to have self-adjusting brakes, but he liked one feature especially. The 58 Edsel had 5 buttons in the center of the steering wheel to shift the gears. That way, you could shift the gears with your left hand and keep your arm around your girlfriend or your wife, whatever, and keep on driving. Shamrock Shelley Cleaver made good use of that feature when he got married in 1958. He went on his honeymoon in an Edsel, with one arm on the wheel and the other around his new wife. The Edsel was named for Edsel Ford, the only child of company founder Henry Ford. Edsel was president of Ford Motor Company until he died in 1943. Today, the cars are considered collector's items. They can cost anywhere from hundreds of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. The Hubble Space Telescope continues to make valuable discoveries after more than 20 years in orbit around Earth. Hubble recently showed a 4th moon orbiting Pluto. Astronomers temporarily named it P4. The moon is the smallest to be discovered around the icy dwarf planet. Astronomers estimate that the moon is from 13 to 34 kilometers across. They first saw it in a Hubble photo taken on June 28th. The American Space Agency NASA launched the Hubble Space Telescope in 1990. Reaching that day took years of work. Ed Weiler is NASA's chief astronomer. Mr. Weiler has worked closely with the Hubble program since 1979. He says that when the Hubble was launched, it represented an increase in the ability of other telescopes on Earth by a factor of 10. He says the last time in astronomy that something like this happened was when Galileo put the first telescope to his eye. NASA's first chief of astronomy was Nancy Grace Roman. Ms. Roman joined NASA in 1959. She led the effort that resulted in the creation of the Hubble Space Telescope. She says astronomers had been wanting to get observations from above the atmosphere for a long time. Looking through the atmosphere is somewhat like looking through a piece of old stained glass. The glass has defects in it, so the image is blurred from that. The Hubble telescope orbits about 550 kilometers above Earth. Ms. Roman says she still remembers the first images that it captured. For her, the image that was most striking was the center of a globular cluster. She could see each individual star and its color. The Hubble Space Telescope has helped expand our knowledge of the universe. It helped scientists estimate that the universe began about 14 billion years ago. Earlier estimates had placed it between 10 and 20 billion years old. The Hubble telescope also confirmed the existence of black holes. These are extremely dense masses believed to exist at the center of most galaxies. Their gravitational pull is so strong they absorb light. The Hubble Space Telescope completed its 1 millionth scientific observation in July. NASA is building a new space telescope to look even deeper into the beginnings of the universe. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.